Hello, I'm Christopher J. Thompson. Welcome to another edition of Chris Speaks. I'm going to try this again because the first time I did it, I was 18 minutes into it, and my webcam program took a crap on me, and so I have no choice but to reshoot this video. The topic today is social justice and why Republicans despise social justice because they do. You go on, not just Republicans, conservatives, but especially Republicans and libertarians do not like social justice one bit, and we'll get to the bottom of this. First of all, I'm probably like one of 5 videos on here that are for social justice that are by people who aren't libertarians and Republicans and other conservatives. Okay, the reason this came up was I read an article, and it was back in January, and obviously it didn't get a lot of news coverage because stuff that's actually important never does. In January, Arizona introduced a bill to make it illegal for colleges, state colleges and universities. They said public schools, but that's mainly what it meant, to teach social justice and host events that promote social justice. Well, let's go on the teaching thing. Well, to begin with, in order to not teach social justice, we can't teach history. You can't have American history or even world history without bringing up the subject of social justice and social injustices. That's a lot of sociology that's thrown out the window. Obviously, a lot of even other things like anthropology, because anthropology, study of cultures, and part of cultures is social justice, it just in general how society works, sociology and whatever. Well, anyways, okay, so that was the law that they tried to pass, which didn't get passed, which is a good thing. Okay, so basically they don't want to teach anything, but then they're the ones, the conservatives are all saying how when liberals protest, they're trying to take away everybody's freedom of speech when they're spewing their hate speech out there. Okay, so the bill was overturned, and this is, in my opinion, from what I've read, which I've researched, just a little bit of research and stuff that I already knew. In my opinion, and I think the opinion is closer to the fact, that the goal of social justice is to make sure that everyone has the same opportunities, and everyone should have the same opportunities. Someone who's black, Asian, Muslim from the Middle East, or I don't know, or even a white Muslim from Europe or America or something, should have the same opportunities as the white Protestant male. And even women should have the same rights and same protections as men do, because they do not. And I know if there's Republicans watching it, they're cringing and they're about to write a nasty comment on here, and I don't care. I'm not going to be silenced. I'm going to speak my mind, speak the truth, and I don't care because most of you guys who are trolling don't even do research. Okay, so another thing to me, now I'm using my cue cards, because if everyone notices that my eyes always look up, there's a whiteboard back there. Well, actually in front there. And I ran out of space, so I got these flashcards. Okay, in my opinion, social justice creates equality. It makes it so people can't discriminate against people for being not white and male, you know? Okay, so here we are. It's the 21st century. It's 2017, and 32 states. In 32 states, that's like the majority of the country, someone can be fired from their job because they're gay. They're gay, bisexual, transgender, whatever. And in the same country where I see conservatives all the time, they're angry at Muslims because, and they always point out how Muslims treat women badly, which Some places they do. It's kind of debatable, but we don't exactly treat women nicest either. Sure, we're not doing horrible things, but a woman in this country working the same exact job as a man makes 79 cents for every dollar that that man makes. She doesn't even get paid the same, but surely that's not misogyny at all. And here's another thing is that Republicans also look, and this is Republican voters mostly, look down on college education and think college has a negative effect on this country. Okay, so being uneducated is better. Yeah, but the people that are telling this, they're Republican politicians, almost all have college degrees. They're educated. They're not going to not educate their kids. They don't want the voters educated, because if the voters are educated, they might not vote for conservatives anymore. And not to say that there aren't educated conservatives, yeah, but they're the ones who are telling all of the other conservatives to not get an education. Here's an example. Ann Coulter, and this is going back into the social justice thing, is that she believes the whole purpose of college is to turn out social justice warriors. Like, social justice is a bad thing. I mean, I guess it is if you want to bask in your white privilege. You want to act like there's no racism when there is. I just don't understand that. And you got to keep in mind that Ann Coulter, who's saying how college is bad, also went to college and got a college degree. If it's so bad, then why'd she go to college? And we know she's not for social justice. This is a woman who, at one time, I believe on Real Time with Bill Maher, said that we should go into Muslim countries, invade them, and convert them to Christianity, and if they don't convert, we should kill them. Wait a second, okay, here's a woman, she's blaming all Muslims for stuff that Al-Qaeda did, because I don't think ISIS was around at the time, and now ISIS is doing, and they're blaming all them, but you want to go into Muslim countries and forcibly convert peasants that have civilians that have no problem and kill them if they don't convert. You're wanting to do the exact same thing that ISIS and Al-Qaeda want to do. So you're being a total hypocrite. You're just as bad as they are. But blaming everybody, all Muslims, for a few groups. And here's another thing. Okay, there's this other guy who a video on here that was on here and on YouTube, obviously. And it was Professor Matt Zwolenski. He's a PhD. He's a libertarian, and he belongs to the Cato Institute, which I'll get into that in a second. He's a teacher at the University of San Diego. Okay, so he claims, Cato Institute. Cato Institute is a right-wing think tank, and this is a think tank that lobbies for groups, and they lobbied for the cigarette companies to say that the cigarettes weren't causing cancer when they were, and we see how that ended up with the lawsuit. There are also the people that are sticking up for companies that chemicals like the Roundup would cause cancer. They back up groups like that. They put out stuff lobbying for the oil companies by saying that global warming is not real, and if it's real, it's always been that way. It has nothing to do with carbon dioxide or human activity. First of all, how can you think at all that we can just pump all that crap up in the air and it's not going to affect anything? That's like the dumbest thing I ever heard. And if it's all natural, then how come it was gradual, and the minute from the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, all of a sudden, the the world just starts warming at this rapid rate. Yeah, it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that it started right when we started dumping crap in the atmosphere. Okay, so this Matt Zelensky says the goal of social justice is the redistribution of wealth and services and goods, which is not even true at all. That sounds like communism. That's communism and maybe some forms of socialism. That's not social justice. That's not where we are at all. That's not what we want at all. That's not that at all. Okay, and so although income inequality is a reoccurring theme in social justice, in actuality, as Democrat, well, I'm not a Democrat. I consider myself to be a progressive, and I guess a liberal, whatever. A progressive is liberal, but we're against distribution of wealth. We're trying to stop the distribution of wealth. It's not like there isn't distribution of wealth, but it's not what you think. The wealth is being distributed from the bottom up, from the poor and the working class to the rich. And how is it being done? It's by giving tax cuts to rich people that don't pay taxes because of loopholes in the tax system. Okay, so that through that, and for the subsidies for the richest countries in the world. So we're distributing it from the bottom up. So actually, in actuality, Republicans, especially the rich, love the redistribution of wealth. They're therefore doing things, and I see, and this is how it is. This is how it works. Okay, the working class, the poor, do all the work, hardly get paid nothing, usually just straight through life, and when they retire, they have a horrible retirement because they're on fixed income. How is it that a person sitting at a desk that does absolutely nothing gets so freaking rich off of the backs of the people that he won't even, refuses to even pay them a decent wage? It's totally against $15 minimum wage. I mean, the minimum wage thing can be one thing. Okay, we could get into that later or not at all, but let's just put it this way. The minimum wage, as far as federally, some states and cities have raised it, hasn't been raised in like 25 years. 25 years, that's a long time, or 20 years, somewhere around that mark. But anyways, how is social justice a bad thing? How is wanting people to have the equal opportunities and equal rights bad? And I love how, this is always a big talking point of Republicans is, oh, everything has to be politically correct, which in their mind says they can't say the N-word anymore, so it's politically incorrect. Okay, well, let's go into they have their own politically correctness, and the politically correctness is that you cannot call, and this goes into social justice, is that you cannot call a racist, you can't call someone who's prejudiced a bigot, you can't call a homophobic person, you can't say someone who hates Muslims as an Islamophobe. Who's being politically correct there? Maybe if you don't want to be called those things, you shouldn't say things that make you look like a bigot. Maybe you shouldn't say things that make you look like a racist, make you look like you hate gay people, make you look like maybe Republicans shouldn't be passing laws that discriminate against minorities, including the LGBT community. Maybe if you don't want to get called misogynist, maybe you shouldn't have a president who wins after audio comes out of him saying that he can grab women by the pussy because he's rich and famous and they can't do anything about it. Yeah, that's why you're a misogynist, because you voted for a guy who admitted that he can sexually assault women. If you don't want to be called an Islamophobe, well, don't hate on all Muslims without even knowing anything about them. You need to know what you're talking about. If you're just going by what you hear on Breitbart and Fox News, and you don't do research, you're being prejudiced. If you're sitting there and you don't know any Muslims, but you think you hate them, you're sitting there, you're blaming all Muslims for what certain groups do, then don't do that, and we won't call you that. So it's like with racism, nobody wants to be called racist anymore, especially the racist. And it's weird, at least it sucks back in the segregation days. I hate all that stuff that happened. But at least back then the racists admitted they were racist. They were actually proud of it. Now they're like, no, we're not racist, even though everything I just said was racist. And that's the whole thing. But you can't call them a racist. Why not? And actually, it always seems like what happens is you call someone racist because they say racist things, and then they claim that you're the racist. But social justice is not a bad thing. Social justice is a good thing. Social justice is why we don't have slaves anymore. Social justice is why nowadays in the United States, the age of consent for a woman, age of consent for sex for a female is now 18, not 10. Yes, it used to be that way, and it was because of women's suffrage, which was a movement for social justice that happens. Because of social justice, we don't have segregation in the South. There's a lot of these things, so if you think social justice is a bad thing, and then you voice that opinion, and people call you a hater, people say you're racist, whatever, well, like some guys have told me that we're hating on Muslims and blaming all Muslims for what terrorists did. Well, if the shoe fits, lace that motherfucker up. Yeah, so if you don't want to be racist, don't say racist shit. You don't want to be a bigot, be called a bigot, don't say bigoted stuff. If you don't want to be called a homophobe, stop saying hateful stuff about the LGBT community. And it's just crazy that there's a society, that there's people in a society, conservatives, whatever, that think social justice is a bad thing. It's because they don't want everyone to have the same opportunities. It's just like how the difference between, and I mean, Democrats ain't perfect. There's a lot of, they make themselves look a lot better than they really are. But Democrats usually, the politicians, want to make sure everyone votes. We end up seeing videos of Republicans that they straight out say, we don't want everyone to vote. You know why? Because they figure if everyone voted, they wouldn't win. And that's the problem. I wish people would go out there and go to the polls and do this. Anyways, this is my view on social justice. Do your research. I don't know. If you go on, don't believe everything you read. I'd stay away from conservatives and libertarians. And it's just kind of, it irritates me that when I went on YouTube here looking up stuff on social justice, most of it was negative stuff, which was all coming from the right, and it was a lot of it completely incorrect. Okay, well, I'm done for this subject. Till next time, I'll see you. Hang in there.